Ani, I am Bliss from imagineNATIVE Institute. I have long, dark brown hair with blue streaks, brown eyes. I'm wearing a brown button-up top, and I'm standing in the imagineNATIVE library with books and artwork behind me. We have the pleasure of speaking with writers from the hit television shows Reservation Dogs, Girls 5 Eva, and Rutherford Falls, diving into what it's like to be in
hair that are long and have curls at the end. And I'm wearing earrings by my friend Jalen Geddes, and they say real deadly on them. And I'm wearing yellow and orange.
Hi, hey, hello. I'm Bobby Wilson. I'm Sisseton, Wahpeton, Dakota. I'm going to have to spell that for you guys later, I guess. I don't know. I'm a bad test taker. Okay, I'm wearing a hat that's beaded. And I have a tattoo that looks like an X across my throat. And I'm wearing a really nice button-up shirt today for you guys. It's got a collar. It's got like a kind of a seaweed design on it. I don't really know what to call it, but I'm describing it. And I got a whole bunch of colorful artwork behind me.
Yeah, that is a real shirt, by the way.
Thanks. I like this.
I was going to say that earlier, but I didn't. So now I'm telling you.
Stop.
And can we hear a little bit more about what it is you both do for a living? No, none of that. It's not what this panel's about. Sorry.
Ask me anything about that. Please.
We're both writers. We write for TV. Yeah. What else can we say about that, Bobby?
I guess I'm a writer, comedian, actor, an artist. I do all sorts of stuff. I paint, I beat, I poet. I just like making stuff.
All right. Well, if we're showing off, I'm also an actor.
Yeah, do it.
And I do beadwork, and I also paint. I'm doing watercolors these days. But my day-to-day job is writing for the small screen.
Yeah,
it's getting smaller and smaller, so you can watch it on your phone.
Yeah.
Very small.
Long bathroom breaks. Smaller phones, longer bathroom breaks.
True.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm a fan of both of your writing. I'd say in the past year, the best television shows that I've watched during COVID are Rutherford Falls, Girls 5 Ever, 20s, Reservation Dogs. And both of you have had a hand in creating all of those. I want to know a little bit more what it's like to be on such powerhouse shows that are airing currently. Easy, I'll pass it over to you first.
What is it like to be on? Well, I mean, being a writer is not very glamorous. You're lucky if your show gets some, attention for being unique or groundbreaking or something. But for the most part, writing is hard. And there's a lot to consider. It's not just necessarily about the stories you want to tell, but the stories that you should be telling in the moment. And it's very collaborative. So there's a lot of different voices. And I have had the privilege of writing in rooms that are very diverse, and then rooms that are not so diverse. And so, there's challenges. There's challenges no matter what, but there's definitely challenges when you have lots of different voices and opinions that don't necessarily align with your own. But it's ultimately, I find it to be very fun and very fulfilling, because I do feel like I come from a long line of people that love to tell stories. And so it's crazy to write something and know that, it's going to actually be made into something, it's like a magical experience. I remember the first show I was on was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And my first episode that I was like a part of writing and producing was had a gift being given to somebody, and it was a dolphin. And we were writing this, and she's in New York City, and she's going to receive a dolphin as a gift, and we're like, can is that a possibility? Like, that can we film that? And then someone looked it up and saw that there were these animatronic dolphin like things you could rent. and there were handlers that would come in wetsuits. And like, I just remember being on that set and being like, wow, we could write anything basically and figure out a way to make it happen. So there is a lot of a feeling of like magic involved, I think, in writing for TV. But I think what people don't realize, it's also very, very difficult and very draining, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I could only imagine, like, there's probably extremely long hours that have to get put in and deadlines that are super strict with all of that. When we get to see like the glitz and glamour and get to enjoy our favorite television shows, you guys are just like hammering out really long days, I'm sure. Bobby, how about you? What's it like to be part of, these really great television shows?
It's fucking sweet. I love it. It's like a touring comedian breaking even if I'm lucky, overdrafting my account every now and then. Always hoping that I would, not hoping, but working towards getting to be on TV and to write TV. And now I get to do that. It's pretty sweet. I love it. It is hella challenging. I mean, like, you just have to have your mind right. And I think it's freaking amazing. It's like one of the most Indianist things is like a writer's room. Like for me, like it was so like, it was like already being in a comedy troupe where you were just like coming up with shit together. And like in its best moments, it feels just like a smooth game of fucking hacky sack or something like that. I don't know. I'm not an athlete. I was gonna say tennis, but I was like, wait, I don't know how to play tennis. But it's amazing. You get to go back and forth, and you get to philosophize, and you get to take all of your collective lives and like all these different stories of things that you've experienced and grown with, and like take the spirit of that and put it into your characters and create like actual people. I love that stuff. I love it. Yeah. I mean, the deadlines can be crazy, and if you work on a show that the showrunners or the bosses like don't really have their shit together, then it can be really difficult, because then you're working, long hours and fielding fucking work calls at like 7 p.m. when you're like just trying to put your damn kid to sleep. But yeah, my kid was early. Yeah, but for the most part, I've written on a couple shows where the showrunners are phenomenal. Sierra Teller Ornelas on Rutherford Falls, fucking beast. Like, so good at organizing all of this stuff and just like delegating and playing to your strengths while also helping you build up your skills as a writer.
I definitely think Zoom has changed the hours conundrum, because no one can be on Zoom till, I was in rooms that went till like 3 a.m. but in my life, but you can't really, but that's also because some of the people I worked with come from SNL. And I think that's just a different beast on how they, what they think work is. And spend, we could spend like 40 minutes on one joke and it's like, whoa. But with Zoom, it's a different, I don't know, it really makes people have to organize their time differently and think of, and be more disciplined, and also just be okay with, maybe not getting things perfect in that moment. Yeah, so that's helped. It's helped in some ways, but in other ways it's kind of weird, because we're used to being there with the people, and when you're collaborating, a lot of that experience is just being in that room together and playing games and like watching things together that spark ideas and keep you current and stuff like that. And so not having that has been an interesting transition, but I think everybody's figured it out, and we're all happy not to have commutes. So
yeah, totally. That pretty much answered my next question. I was going to ask what the switch was like for you from being in a writer's room to being in a virtual writer's room. So less hours, that's great, and no commute, that's also great. I know, but like snacks and watching TV with like your pals is, that's a bummer. Not getting to
it is a bummer. Also, you don't pay for those snacks. Now I got to pay for my own snacks. Like, They're not just going to appear because of a really, really sweet production assistant or writer's assistant. But yeah, these are all privileges. Working with people that are top in their field, like I'll do that from wherever. Like if I can, you know, I'm not going to complain, certainly. But during this pandemic, I did get to sit in a writer's room because it was for a pilot, and it was what's it called? Multicam. So it was on a stage. So I actually went in and watched it and did a room for it. And it was like, oh, like this is how that feels. Like getting the immediate laughter that you can hear and feel is different than when you're on Zoom and you're trying to figure out if your joke's really just bad or if everybody just got their sound off. So it's different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm laughing through most of the Zoom calls that I'm on, so I'm always on mute because I have a ridiculous laugh. And so, Bobby, you were stepping into the writer's room for Rutherford Falls in the height of pandemic land. What was that like to start off in a writer's room under all of the COVID circumstances?
Well, I actually got physical room time, and then like in the middle of writing the fucking thing, that's when we all got sent home in March. So it was crazy. I was super happy to be there, you know, like it was amazing to get to know all of my fellow writers. And then I was on outline for my episode. And I remember I got to like do a joke room. This was my first. I was like, ooh, I get to like sit here. I got like fucking Jana. I got Matt Murray. I got Penn Gill. And just like writing jokes with these guys. Like it felt like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And then fucking like we're in the conference room, and all of a sudden in comes like Sierra, Ed, and Mike. And then comes fucking Morgan and Falbo and like all the whole like everybody walked in, like all the fucking producer folks, and I was like, what is going on here? I was like, we're using this room right now, guys. And I remember Sierra was like, yeah, it's never a good sign when all the bosses come in, right? I was like, I guess not. And that was when Mike told us that the production is going to be paid to the end of the week, and we don't know if we're going to be able to keep writing or not.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And we're like, we've got a couple more days. And like they really tried to keep the in-person room for a few days because we didn't know what the fuck to do yet.
Yeah.
But we would show up and everybody just like sitting there on the couches like.
It was a weird time. I went through that too. It was a weird time.
And then I got sent home, and you know, thankfully we were allowed to continue writing the rest of the season. So got to write my episode, and then after my 20 weeks were up, I got to do a bunch of production edits with Eric Legend. And man, those production edits, like that extra like 12 weeks of just editing scripts was so great. Like I love the editing part, just like chopping. And
it is satisfying.
and like the Zoom of it, I felt like we had all gone through the pandemic together, like we had experienced it at the same time. And so like once we were all meeting again, it was like Mike hadn't shaved in like 2 months, and just like everybody was like, this is crazy. Like Matt Murray was zooming in from a cabin. Like nobody knew what to do. Everybody had bought out all the peanut butter at Costco, and you know, we're just like fucking just trying to figure this stuff out. But when it came to like production drafts and stuff like that, like doing it over Zoom was really, really, really fantastic. It was so easy because we just got to share the screen and like go through line for line together. And you know, if we had done that in person, still cool because they had like a 60-inch TV where you would just like all sit in the conference room and do it like that. But yeah, no, it was awesome. And then we went to Reservation Dogs season 1, and we had like 8 weeks to write that thing. And just like all over Zoom, just like boom, 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 like went right through it and banged out that whole season. And then I went into another writer's room, which was not great. It was really terrible. It was like 20 weeks. But the only, well, actually, it ended up being 22 weeks. But anyways, the great thing about doing that was two of our writers are deaf. And having the Zoom room actually like really created a huge amount of accessibility for them. And not to mention, like, we also had a lot of talent who are just not based in LA, who are not based in New York, who are able to get hired onto these projects as creatives that normally wouldn't actually have the access to that sort of a thing. So that was pretty fucking sweet. And I mean, like, even right now, writing season 2 of Res Dogs, like, we've got Devery Jacobs in there, and she's in Canada, you know, zooming in every day. So there's hope for you people yet, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plus side about Zoom, is being able to kind of pop in wherever you are. And it kind of highlights how being in the Mecca cities isn't necessary, where we all thought, like, in Canada, it's all, you have to move to Toronto, you have to move to Vancouver, like, you have to move to these cities, leave res, go work there to be able to get like any notoriety or have your name, you know, noticed at all. And then we're seeing people sitting in the comfort of their home for 2 years doing all of this work, and they're not in Toronto or LA or New York for a good portion of, you know, the people. So it's interesting, the things that have been like highlighted for us to kind of move forward with that in mind, that when we're hiring people, it doesn't necessarily have to be down the street. They could be like thousands of miles away and still do really quality work. I'd like to travel back in time a little bit, if you guys will let me. So before network television and before YouTube, what first got you into comedy? I'll go with AZ.
What got me into before TV? I wasn't alive before that. What? I'm confused.
Before you started working in network television, before you started doing YouTube,
Okay.
what first?
Okay. just clarify. I loved watching it. When I was little, I first of all, the Muppets were probably my first introduction to comedy, and that is some top tier comedy, the old Muppets stuff. I can't speak to the new stuff, I don't know. But I also would fall asleep watching as a little girl. No one gave me a bedtime until I started going to school. So I would watch, gosh, what is the name of that show? The comedian who would do this every night. You know what I'm talking about? When she would.
Was it Carol Burnett?
Yeah, I couldn't think. Kathy Griffin kept coming to my head. Yeah, Carol Burnett. I used to watch the Carol Burnett show every night and fall asleep to it. So I don't know. I think also specifically what got me into comedy, like knowing that I was funny. I think this is maybe the story that a lot of us have, is like really kind of difficult childhoods. And my mom and I were going through a lot of things kind of together. And my mom actually struggles with depression, but at the time I didn't really know that. We didn't know what it was or whatever, but she spent a lot of time like in her room, closed door, like sleeping. But I knew that if I could make her laugh, like I really felt like I had done something important. I don't know. It really, being able to laugh and watch shows like Carol Burnett, or like we watched Clueless like 1,000 times. When we were going through our worst times, we would go and watch Clueless together. So I just realized that for me, like, laughter was a healing, was about healing, and it was also about being able to look at things differently, like things that were going on in my life. If I could make a joke out of it, then I felt like a little bit more in control of it, if that makes sense, or a little bit more like I could see through it. And I think that kind of comedy is kind of come with me in everything I do. There's like a lot of heart in the stuff that I like to write, and also a lot of meaning. And so for me, there's that. And then also satire, just as a way to like deal with like microaggressions and like racial stuff that we all go through. Like satire is just a really great tool that I found. And as far as like performing and such, I actually really loved Broadway as a young person. And So that's kind of how I started. I wanted to do musicals. So I went to NYU for musical theater, but comedy specifically, yeah, I think it was just sort of like almost like a instinct. And then I was also around really funny people. My grandparents were very funny people. My mom, she's a different kind of funny than me, but she's funny. And so, yeah, so it just felt very natural. But I came to a point where I had realized I needed to write because there weren't really things that were made for me in the way that I would want to see it. So that's kind of what started me specifically wanting to write, because before that I was just performing. And then but realizing that I could write kind of gave me more tools and more control of the narratives that I would like to see being made. So
yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, laughter is my ultimate favorite thing to ever do. I'm always like searching for the next laugh, and I get so excited and happy when I get to watch TV or hear somebody talk or watch a panel or anything, and I'm laughing. Like, I'm like, yes, I like these people. They're doing it. They're doing it right.
yeah.
And Bobby, what about you? What got you into comedy before the screen came along?
Before the screen.
We're taking it way back, traveling back in time.
Back a long time ago, we would be unpacking the Travoy. We'd pull out all of our, our cookware, our teepee, no, I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just going to stop that bit right now. No. I think back, and I think like the first couple times, like one of the big things, I didn't know I wanted to be a comedian per se. I love the art stuff. I love all of that. I've always loved performing. When I was a kid, I'm not trying to spotlight here, but okay. So like when I was a teenager, we were living in this battered women's shelter, me, my mom, and my sister. We were living in a bunch of battered women's shelters, but in one of them, it was the year that Sugar Ray song, "I Just Want to Fly," came out. It's a long time ago. It was on KDWB all the time. And it came on one time in the lunchroom. And I used to do this thing that I always liked with my friends. We would like make up dances for whatever the songs are. And that's such a narrative song. So they're like, "I just want to fly like a birdie in the sky." And so I just did the dance thing. And my mom was sitting there, and like all these other women and from the shelter and all that, and I just like jumped around, and I just like started doing the dances to it, and I was like going up and like pretending like I was in a musical or something like that, and everybody thought it was hilarious. They all loved it, and I felt really fucking good about it, especially since you're not in a good place if you're in a battered women's shelter. So
Yeah.
And it was a fuckload of fun, and I always loved doing stuff like that. And then in 2010, I met Ryan Redcorn and Sterling Harjo, and alongside Migazi Pensano and Dallas Goldtooth, we made a YouTube video together under the 1491s, and then we just kept on doing it. It was awesome, just like going around trying to get folks to laugh. Yeah, it was sweet. It still is. Still is sweet.
See what I mean about difficult childhoods?
Yeah.
Like, you go to a comedy room, it's like you're going to hear some stories. And it's interesting because we all ended up being funny. But like, when you hear the stories, you're like, oh, could have gone another direction.
Oh, yes. Sort of did go in the other direction, but came back to it in that good way, in that old way, in that humble way.
Well, you guys definitely bring, joy to the people with the comedy that you put out, and make a lot of laughter, it is magic. And I think like the collaborative nature of it all is really beautiful as well, how you're on a team with so many different people and you're able to create these cohesive characters and these narratives that flow really nicely throughout. And it's like watching and seeing the different writers when you're looking through the credits, and it's not the same writer on two shows like back to back. So I think it's really cool how that like cohesion stays throughout shows. And I find it very impressive. Do you remember what your first day was like in a writer's room? Like day one, stepping in fresh faced and ready to dive into a show?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, I'll talk about it. My first day was, so I did a web series and it was just like me, and it was about something I'd gone through in my own insane life. And then somehow I got on this new show, and it was, I didn't mention this before, but a big influence on me was also Saturday Night Live. And when I was mentioning satire, I think those kind of sketch shows is where I kind of learned. I mean, I understood satire because it is, I feel like it's a real part of Black and Indigenous culture already. But like, as far as it being used to make commentary on social issues and stuff like that, as a young person watching SNL was kind of like, and like Weekend Update and all that kind of stuff was like, that's where I kind of learned what that was about. And I used to make my mom watch Maya Rudolph and Tina Fey all the time. Like I would just like on YouTube, I'd be like, Mom, watch this, watch this. She'd be like, yes, those are very funny women. Like, that's hilarious. Like, she'd be like, go away. So my first job was in a writer's room with Tina Fey as one of the two head writers. So when you said your first day and I said I don't want to talk about it, was because it was horrifying. It was like one of the scariest days of my life. One, because I was like, why am I here? What if they've clearly made a big mistake? And then two, you know, like it was also my meeting this person that meant so much to me in my development as like a writer. And even when I was writing the pilot that I got hired from, it's nothing about it is like 30 Rock or anything, but I looked at 30 Rock in the structure of it. So I watched so much 30 Rock to figure out how to write that. And so I was sitting there, and my interview with her was actually on the computer because I had lived in LA. So, and she was in New York. So I was like actually my first time meeting her in person, and my tongue is getting tied just thinking about it because I couldn't like speak. I was like trying to like be cool. I was like, like, oh, they think I can't speak English. Like, but anyway, but it ended up being fine, and everybody was nervous. And one thing I learned is that even people above you are nervous because like they're making a show and it could fail, and it's like, you know, and it's probably something that really means something to them. And so after a few weeks, I started to realize, oh, like everybody's at a different level than me, clearly, but everybody's kind of, they're going through their own growing pains. So I felt a little bit better because just thinking of them as like human beings who are dealing with the stress of maybe also not getting it right too. So, but my first day was pretty difficult, I have to say, but it was a lot of fun. And getting through it, actually, I felt very proud of myself.
Yeah, no kidding. I'd be terrified. I definitely.
I was pretty horrified.
I'd have no words. There's times when my brain completely empties, and I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know English.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
How about you, Bobby? Do you remember what your first day in a writer's room was like?
Yeah, hell yeah. It was crazy. I don't know. Much like AZ, I had taken a look at what like kind of the work that had been done previously by like the showrunner and by her creative consortium, I guess. So like I had already seen a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Superstore, and then I went and I watched like all of Parks and Rec, and I was like, okay, like there's an aesthetic here, and like just paying attention to pacing, story arcs, how these characters are built and stuff like that, and sort of like just trying to just putting it all in the memory bank, you know, to get in there. And you know, like I think on the personal tip, it was very difficult because I live in Tucson, Arizona, and I had a 6-month-old at the time. And so I was like, I basically abandoned my family to go work in Hollywood at Paramount until the pandemic. But and I would come back every weekend anyway. So I was a bit stressed out because I had only been in LA for like 3 days by the time that it happened. And I also didn't sleep the night before because I was up all night painting a fucking bunch of pictures for the damn writer's room.
What?
Yeah, no, I came in a little bit early. I came in like the Friday before we started, and just like over the weekend stayed in Paramount, and I painted like these really big, like I couldn't paint directly on the walls, but I got these really massive pieces of paper and did like a mural, like a little indoor mural thing for the writer's room. Which was great. It gave me like a little bit of time to like shake all that crazy shit off and like kind of get my head right, spend some time to myself and figure that out. But it was a thing where I was like, constantly reminding myself of like, like I have to listen. I think a good writer in a writer's room is someone who listens and someone who asks good questions about, whatever it is that you're working on, your characters, your arcs, all that stuff. But and to also like I think there's a danger in coming into something new, especially like I don't want to get in there and like try to act like I know what the fuck I'm doing, and like but also to like not let that bog me down, because like clearly there's people in that room who have been writing since like Will Ferrell was on SNL, and have created tons of shows, have worked in the industry for way longer than me, and they know this is my first show, and they, it's no secret. So knowing that and like feeling that level of comfort to be like just ask questions like, excuse me, what do you mean by that? It was a really supportive environment, my show, or my first experience at Rutherford Falls.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that everybody there wants you to do well. No one's your enemy.
Yeah, right.
And they trust you and believe in you, and that's why you're there. Yeah, it's hard to believe that sometimes, but it's important to remember. And yeah, when it's your first job, everybody knows it, and I think they expect you to do more listening than anything else in the beginning, which is just good. It's good for you, but also a good listener can also be a very good contributor. So,
in its native way. Listen.
Yes, definitely.
I'm so curious.
Don't be afraid to pitch either.
No, it's scary the first time, but especially if you don't get a laugh and it's a joke.
Yeah.
But it's okay. One thing I learned is you can throw out something and it might not be right yet, but that's why the room is there. And so, people be like, they'll pitch on that joke, and they'll make it better, but you have an impulse, and the impulse is often correct, even if you don't, on the first try get the joke or line exactly right.
Sierra would always say, take a lap after you pitch, whether it was good or bad. Take a lap. She's like, if your pitch sucked, nobody liked it, take a lap. Just sit back and think about it. And if you pitch something that everybody really enjoyed, don't try to ride the lightning. Just like I think she said ride the lightning. I can't remember specifically what she had said, but she was like, even if it's good, like don't try to keep it going and like fucking ruin what you just said.
Ride the lightning sounds pretty Navajo to me.
Well, my hands are sweating just thinking of pitching in a room like in front of a bunch of people on your first time. That's so wild, and I'm so curious what this mural looks like. Also, just like in the back of my head, I'm like, well, what does the mural look like? Did you take it with you when you left? Did you leave it there behind?
No, it belongs to Sierra now. It's in her archives.
Is it still in there, or did they put it back up for? Or you don't know because you're not in the. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, zooms.
Love the zooms. And so I'd like to ask, for the future, do you plan on continuing acting and writing and executive producing? Do you want to become a showrunner for your own project? Do you you both have worked on really great shows, and I can't even imagine what kind of TV series babies are growing inside your brains. Do you have any ideas?
Coming out our ear. I'm sure Bobby has a lot of ideas.
Just got to keep dipping into the old idea well there. Yeah.
I mean,
Please
what do
go
you
ahead.
think? You go, Bobby, please.
I mean, I just I want to just keep doing this until Twitter asks me to stop. No. No, this shit is amazing. I don't know. I like being in. I just like making things, and I love the collaborative process of television, of film. I love TV. It's my real dad, and as long as I can keep working with him and making him proud, that's what I want to do. Yeah, I want to run shows. I want to, get out there and pitch the stuff. I sold a show with Sterling to Amazon, and once.
Congratulations!
Thanks.
Congrats. Super cool.
I know. So just want to keep doing stuff like that, and trying to convince fuckers to give us money, give us money to make stuff. We want to blow things up.
I mean, yes, I do. I do want to act eventually. I haven't figured out how to do both in a while. It's been a while. So, and when I started writing, my thought was, okay, I can write things for myself. And then that didn't exactly happen. So I would like to do that. And right now I'm actually in the middle of a Broadway show that I've been writing with Titus from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And we just got, and we had workshopping of it before the pandemic and everything. And we just got a producer for it. So it seems like it's actually going to end up on Broadway, which is a really interesting,
awesome,
like 360, 180 for me. Cause like I said, that's kind of was my first love. And that's what got me wanting to even be an actor or be involved in entertainment in general. So that's fun, but it's also a very different animal. And as far as show running, like, I don't know, I've been a number 2 in a room to some really great people, and it is hard, but I hope to be able to fill their shoes one day. Yes. We'll see.
Oh, that's so exciting. I don't yet have my traveling boots on since COVID happened, but when that hits Broadway, I'm going to New York for sure.
You have time.
Give me a couple years. let the nerves come back to be able to travel internationally.
It's gonna be great. All the per cap Indians across the land are gonna descend upon Broadway.
Please come to Broadway.
We will be there for sure. And Bobby, I believe that does the 1491s have a play coming out at some point as well post COVID situation? Could you drop a couple lines about that?
Yeah, we wrote a play a few years back for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival called Between Two Knees. It was pretty well received commercially, and Yale picked it up. And
Great.
We're going to be putting that thing on in their 2022 season.
Okay, so people go over to Yale and then down to Broadway.
We go on the Native Theater tour right there.
And then over to Foxwoods. So it'll be great.
It's so exciting. I just want to dive in a little bit more into what the collaboration process is like inside a room from the various different perspectives that you each have. I know you touched on it a little bit in previous questions, but like maybe some of your favorite things about getting to collaborate with a bunch of writers or getting to meet new writers that you've never worked with before, or being in a fully native writers room, which I think is the first time ever that's happened with Reservation Dogs. Just like that. Yeah, just dive in a little bit more into the collaboration process.
Collaboration. Well, I like collaboration. I think it comes very natural to me. I don't think it comes natural to everybody that's in rooms sometimes. But I think people are made better by other people's input and ideas. But then at the end of the day, your showrunner makes the final decisions. So you're not always happy with everything that ends up coming out of the show, or you know what I'm saying. But it's really important to be there and to feel empowered in your own voice and to realize that they chose you for a reason. So I remember once I had a difficult experience in a writer's room, and it was my first, it was like, you know, so I was a baby writer, quote unquote, as they say. So I didn't necessarily feel like I could make the criticism that I wanted to make, if that makes sense. And I was afraid like of, you know, overstepping the boundaries these ideas of what the boundaries were. And I called my mom and I was crying, and she was like, well, you have to, like, I mean, that's why you're there. She was like, you have to look beyond these people and realize that, you know, this is something that's going to go out in the world, and you have to be able to speak up when you feel like something isn't right, because it's beyond them, but then also, if something did go wrong and you did know that might happen, you know, then you didn't do your part in the room, right? So I did, and it was great. And the people were like, oh, we would never have seen it that way. And this was before a lot of the conversations we've had around race and representation, all the things that have happened in the last couple of years. So I think it's much easier even now to do that. But at the time, I had to realize my mom empowered me, but I had to also kind of like empower myself and be like, you know, this is something we're all doing together, which means I'm important too. Like, it's not just like the fact that, you know, maybe I'm 1 out of 10 people that doesn't like this, but I am one person, and I'm just as important as the 10. So I think that kind of stuff comes up, especially when you're first starting. But my favorite part about it is one of the things, the magic of like a joke kind of making the rounds. So you put something out, it's not exactly right, but it's the right area. And then someone else builds on it, and someone else builds on it. And then by the end, it's like the most hilarious thing ever. And like, you realize it, you know, it might have started with you, but it was really a group effort. And I love that. I love feeling the whole synergy of the room. And then like everybody brings things that they're very good at. Like some people are very good at jokes, and not very good at the story stuff, right? And then some people are very good at the voice of the character, but maybe not the structure of an episode. So like, it's kind of, when you're first starting, you start to realize where you're good. But the important thing is to always still be working on those other areas where maybe you're not as strong. And to also ask for feedback, which people don't always give because they're very busy, but they might have some. So don't be afraid to ask for that as well. So.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to learn off of others' strengths in the room with you and kind of be able to highlight within yourselves, like, okay, maybe I'm not the strongest at this, but it's an area where I could grow. When you're in a room with so many different writers that come from so many different backgrounds and have so many amazing ideas, or sometimes, I mean, probably bad ideas, but being able to all work together on that.
Trying to figure out how they're doing the thing that they're doing can help you to be better at that if it's not something that you're naturally. I'm naturally more good at story, because I just love people and I have a big heart, but, but I'm not always thinking, as crazy as it is, I don't always think of the funny of it. But then being with someone like, I work with Meredith Gardeno, who is from late night, like she was late night, and I've watched her story stuff kind of grow, because I've worked with her since my first room, and but being around her has got my jokes are way funnier because I take way more risks, because her jokes are insane. Like I don't know where she pulls stuff from, but I started to kind of like figure out how and the other day we were at like coffee together, and we said the same things at the same time a few times. And I was like, okay, like we made the exact same joke together. And I was like, this is because I've been learning from her for so long.
Oh, that's super funny. It sounds like it was a funny and cute moment.
It was cute. Your turn, Bobby.
Over to you, Bobby.
What was the question? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, collaboration.
Oh,
I've
can we
indeed
talk about that?
a little bit.
Collaboration. I don't know. AZ said so much good stuff that I just like agree with and echo,
Really
and I
good.
don't wanna say the same. I don't want to steal, what you just said.
Well, can you talk? I haven't been, so I've been in mixed rooms racially. I've been in all Black rooms. I think, yeah. So it's like I have not until I think I go to Rutherford in 2 weeks, so I'll see what that feels like when I get there, which it's not all native, but you know what I mean. But can you talk about that collaborative process? Did that feel different to you than other rooms you were in?
No, I would say like the process in Rutherford was really it felt really natural to me. Because yeah, it's not an all native room, but it is a very diverse writers room. And because there was such like half of the room was native, like there was no need to do any sort of explanation really, unless it was to like make fun of one of the whites. Or like that. So it was a lot of fun, and also like with Rutherford, like it's a very well structured TV room. Like it's led by so many people who have been doing this for so long, and who have been in so many other rooms that I think like, and I try not to get too hung up on the levels of it all, but like the workloads seemed to be pretty clearly defined. Which I really appreciated. It was like it made it very easy for me, who was a newcomer, a first-time TV writer, and to sort of like pay attention how each of those levels seem to divvy up their work, and how they also like delegate. So that was pretty great. But then with the all native writers room, it was just like we all knew each other, and so
That's fun.
yeah, I know. And like even the ones who didn't, like we didn't know each other, like we at least knew each other's work, because fucking like ask me about any Indian, I'll tell you what they've been up to this last month. And it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter where. Like I follow them, I'm watching them closely. And so like it was like we were already pretty comfortable. Like it didn't take much to like get rapport. We were already telling jokes that felt so familiar, even though we were from tribes that are like 1,000 miles away from each other. It was nice. It was really nice. And then the other room that I was in had its challenges, and I think that really like what it boiled down to. So like with Reservation Dogs, like Sterling Harjo, this was his first ever TV show. He's never written on a show. He's never written a show before season one, and but he also like he's done all this film work. He knows all of these like his own work process, and he's the type of person who said to everybody, just want to let you all know, I don't really know all of how to do this. I'm figuring it out. I talk to showrunners, but like, we're just going to work on this together and try to get this thing flowing, And so that was really fantastic to have like a boss who could say that, who could just like put it out there and is really good at clearing the air. And then I went to the next show that I was on, and the boss that I had there had no idea what they were doing, had also never written a show before, had written like a few movies, but really like doubled down on the like, this is my show, this is how it's going to be done. And then like they got fired.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And so and then from then on there was absolutely no clear definition of like leadership in terms of like the story that we were writing. Like it made it really difficult. Ultimately, like
Horrifying, Bobby.
Yeah. No, I was like, God damn it, like get me out of here. That was so traumatizing. I was like fucking like just trying to have like I don't know, like there's that whole space of time. And like, this is the thing about writing these projects too, is like you put so much of yourself and your personal stories and like just like so much of your heart and your spirit into this work. And I think like that's a really Indian thing to do with whatever you're doing. If you're beading earrings, if you're painting stuff, if you're whatever, like writing a TV show, you put pieces of yourself into it. And I think like when we're trying to breathe life into these characters, the life that we're giving to them is our own lives. And that takes a lot of emotional toll on people. It takes a lot of emotional toll on me. And, you know, putting all of that work into it for 22 weeks is like a huge commitment for your life, you know? And like, I'm also here, like I have my family, I have a child, I've got like, I do dad shit, you know? So it's like, I'm not interested in like working until like 9-10 p.m. like all goddamn day. Like once I'm off Zoom on this thing, like I don't want to be, you know, fucking like writing down homework assignments. Like I didn't go to college for a reason, you know what I mean? But,
well, to echo that, but I think it's important that. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done?
no, that's fine.
Oh,
Yes,
okay. I was just gonna say, I think it's important for people to think about this is not your identity. Like, you know, like you're saying, you put so much into it, and it is a labor of your heart, and also a lot of times you put your own story into the story because you're pulling from what you know. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to let it go. Like if things change or if there's some crazy thing going on at the top or whatever it is, and you don't feel like you see yourself in it anymore. That happens sometimes. And sometimes there are things that we can't control in that way. And so it is important to be able to let it go and to be like, well, that, you know, that's just how that room went, or that's just how that script went, or, you know, so in the collaborative process, you can have strong opinions, you can have strong ties to things, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to let it go. And if you do, I should have said this earlier, but if you do have something like I was saying, like something you're realizing is that you want to point out as a problem or criticism, you should have a solution to. You shouldn't just be the one that's like, this is wrong, I don't like it. The end. You should take some time to think about how to express yourself and also how to correct it in the way that you think, or at least have questions on like getting the ideas together to even if you don't have the answer. But being able to let go is a big part of collaboration too. And it's also just a part of this business because it's not always fair. Like Bobby's saying, like you have like just rooms that are just falling apart at the seams, and people have weird personalities and egos, and so you have to just breathe and be like, well, this isn't all of who I am, like, you know, and this isn't the last thing I'll write.
right.
And it's great to hear, like myself and the audience, to hear that not every writer's room would be like that. If you're a writer looking to get into a situation and your first room ends up being something horrific, that the next room might not be, you know, the next room might be really great and be the space that you belong in. So I think that's a really great message. I'm a fan of the writing that you both do, the acting, your beadwork. So I would just like to say thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you both here in this conversation. Before we say our farewells, can you let our audience know what you're currently working on? I mean, on top of the Broadway show and season 2 of Reservation Dogs and, you know, the Native theater tour, if your plates aren't already all over full with that kind of stuff, what other projects you might be taking on right now?
I'm in the room for Girls 5 Eva season 2 right now, so writing pop songs. And I'm going to be in Rutherford season 2 room, which I think Bobby just abandoned. So yeah. I don't know if we'll ever be in a room together, but okay.
I treated Rutherford Falls room like my own family. I'm gonna go get some smokes, guys. the other show that I wrote on, I don't know when they're gonna start production on it, but you know, it'll probably be out in 2023, maybe, I think. I don't know. I don't have my hand in it anymore, so. But Reservation Dogs season 2, doing that, and I just finished I wrote a story for a Marvel Comics anthology. I think in a few months. The comic book
yeah,
got there.
sweet.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's a lot of fun to just write fantasy stuff. That's like
Good.
and to not have to think about, like, you know, a producer's gonna knock you for a budget or something like that. Like, you can just make people disappear, you can make shit blow up, you can make people get bigger. I don't know. There's fucking talking raccoons. Like, it's crazy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah, that's super great. I taught my mom how to binge watch television on Rutherford Falls and Girls Five Ever over COVID. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, I get up till 3 a.m. I can't sleep. I'm like, you're binge watching TV. That's what the problem is. Like, turn the TV off.
My mom watched Rutherford Falls and said, "Why is the white guy on this show?" I was like, "Mom, you mean the star?" She was like, "I don't." That's my mother.
I don't know. Let me go ask.
Because it's his show.
Oh, that's so great. I love moms. Well, I will let you enjoy the rest of your day and hopefully not have to go back to work after this, and you could just chill and have a lovely evening.
Wouldn't that be nice, Jamie? Things to do.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to be here today, and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Rich.
Yeah, later.
Tansei, abawashite. My name is Kyron, and I am so excited to be a part of Industry Days for imagineNATIVE's 2021 virtual festival. By now, you've probably heard somebody say how important it is for Indigenous representation to happen on screen in film and media. But let's talk about why that's important. You see, film and media have the ability to shape people's minds and to introduce them to new worlds, new stories, new cultures. However, the portrayal of Indigenous people in popular media today is usually done by non-Indigenous people and is just a huge collection of misinformation, tokenization, stereotypes, fetishization, and just a general lack of understanding about the culture. And this is a huge shame, because as we know, the world loves to consume Indigenous culture and stories. However, it's very seldom that Indigenous people themselves are the ones telling those stories or controlling those narratives. That's why representation is so important, both on screen and off screen, so that we as Indigenous peoples can see ourselves taking up that space, recontrolling those narratives, telling those stories ourselves, and so that we know that it's possible. That's also why I'm most looking forward to the APTN imagineNATIVE web series pitch competition happening day 1 of Industry Days on October 20th at 2:30 EST. Man, I'm so excited to see all of the teams that want to submit their projects for the competition. These are Indigenous teams, Indigenous-led projects, about Indigenous stories. Talk about Indigenous representation. That's how you do it right. See you guys there.